bustling street corner, a mother's voice trembled as she sang, pouring every ounce of desperation into each note. She wasn't performing for applause, she was fighting for her son's life. In her arms, a frail little boy rested, his body weak, but his mother's love unyielding. She had no idea that just a few feet away, a pink Cadillac had rolled to a slow stop. And inside, listening intently, was Snoop Dogg. What happened next would change everything. Across town, in the sterile corridors of the children's hospital, Amanda Taylor sat in a consultation room, holding her 3-year-old son, Liam, on her lap. The walls, decorated with cheerful animal decals, felt like a cruel joke against the gravity of the moment. Liam, blissfully unaware of the tension suffocating the air, clutched his worn-out teddy bear, a silent companion through endless nights in hospital beds. Dr. Evelyn Carter, a seasoned pediatric oncologist with kind eyes and graying hair, sat across from them. Her desk, cluttered with medical charts and scan results, held the devastating truth about Liam's condition. With measured care, she finally spoke. "Amanda," she began, her voice carrying both authority and deep compassion. "I'm afraid the latest test results confirm our worst fears. Liam has stage 4 neuroblastoma." Amanda felt the words pierce through her like a blade. Her grip on Liam instinctively tightened. "Stage 4, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Dr. Carter gave a solemn nod. "The cancer has spread from his adrenal gland to parts of his left kidney." She picked up a scan, holding it to the light. "Here," she pointed, "this shows the progression of the disease." Amanda leaned in, but to her untrained eye, it was just a confusing mess of shadows and shapes. Her throat tightened. What does this mean for Liam?" Her voice wavered. "How long?" She couldn't bring herself to finish the question. Dr. Carter hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "Without aggressive treatment, he may have 6 months. Maybe a year." The room spun. Amanda's heart pounded as she pulled Liam closer, as if she could physically shield him from reality. The little boy, sensing his mother's distress, looked up at her with wide, innocent eyes. "Mama?" His tiny voice cut through the silence like a knife. Amanda forced a smile, her hand gently running over his bald head. "It's okay, sweetheart," she murmured, though everything inside her was screaming that it wasn't. Dr. Carter leaned forward, her voice softening with a hint of hope. "Amanda, I want you to know, there are options. With the right treatment, surgery, immunotherapy, many children do go into remission. We've seen incredible advancements." Amanda clung to that sliver of hope. When can we start?" Dr. Carter's expression shifted slightly, concern creeping into her eyes. "Amanda, we've had several consultations. I have to ask, what's preventing you from moving forward?" The words felt like a punch to the gut. Amanda's composure cracked. Tears welled up as she struggled to speak. "Our insurance," her voice broke. "It only covers basic chemotherapy. I can't afford the surgery. The immunotherapy. The absence of her late husband weighed on her more than ever. If he were here, maybe they could have managed. But as a single mother juggling multiple jobs just to keep a roof over their heads, the price of saving her son's life was impossibly high." Dr. Carter's face softened with understanding. "I see," she said gently. "I'm so sorry, Amanda. I know how overwhelming this must be." She took a deep breath. "We'll continue with chemotherapy to give Liam the best chance under these circumstances. And I promise, we will explore every possible option." Amanda nodded, gratitude and helplessness crashing together inside her. As the consultation ended, Dr. Carter stood and placed a reassuring hand on Amanda's shoulder. "We're not giving up," she said firmly. "Liam is a fighter. And we'll fight right alongside him." Amanda looked up, tears streaking her face. "Thank you," she whispered. As she walked out of the consultation room, holding Liam's tiny hand in hers, the colorful animal decals on the walls blurred together, a kaleidoscope of false cheer in a world that had just become unbearably dark. The bright fluorescent lights of the hospital hummed overhead, indifferent to the battle that lay ahead. What Amanda didn't know was that, just a few blocks away, her story was about to take an unimaginable turn. Because Snoop Dogg had just heard her song. And he wasn't the type to walk away from a soul in need. The stark fluorescent glow of the hospital corridors softened as Amanda approached the billing counter, Liam still nestled in her arms. Behind the desk sat a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, her face familiar from countless visits. Mrs. Taylor, she greeted with a small smile, recognizing them instantly. "How can I help you today?" Amanda adjusted Liam on her hip, freeing one hand to dig into her worn-out wallet. "I need to settle today's bill," she said, her voice still raw from the weight of the consultation. The clerk nodded and turned to her computer, fingers gliding over the keyboard as she pulled up the day's charges. A moment later, she looked up. The total for today's consultation, imaging, and chemotherapy session comes to $5,500. Amanda felt her stomach drop. She had expected the number, braced for it, but still, it hit like a punch to the gut. Silently, she handed over her insurance card, holding her breath, praying there wouldn't be any issues. The seconds dragged as the clerk processed the payment, her eyes scanning the screen. Amanda's heart pounded in her chest. Then, finally, the woman smiled. "Good news, Mrs. Taylor. Today's treatment is fully covered by your insurance." A small wave of relief washed over Amanda, but it was fleeting. This wasn't the battle, it was just one skirmish. The real fight, the one that could save Liam's life, was still out of reach. "Thank you," she said softly, managing a weak smile as she took back the card. Walking out of the hospital, the weight of their reality pressed down on her like an iron cloak. The bright afternoon sun hit her face as they stepped into the parking lot, a harsh contrast to the hospital's cold, sterile air. She made her way to their old van, its once vibrant paint now faded, rust creeping along the edges. Years of wear and tear had taken their toll. Opening the side door, she gently placed Liam into his car seat, a salvaged second-hand one, bought after their original had been damaged in a minor accident. The seatbelt was still broken, a repair she couldn't afford. Instead, she secured Liam using a makeshift strap, guilt gnawing at her. She knew it wasn't safe. She knew it wasn't enough. But right now, this was all she had. Sliding into the driver's seat, she gripped the wheel, Dr. Carter's words echoing in her mind. The urgency. The ticking clock. The desperate need for treatments they simply couldn't afford. Her knuckles turned white as she fought back the tears burning at the corners of her eyes. The engine sputtered to life after a few hesitant tries, and Amanda pulled out of the hospital parking lot. As they drove through the city streets, her mind spun in an endless loop of calculations and desperation. She thought about the crumpled bills and loose change she had managed to save from her street performances, a mere drop in the ocean compared to what they needed. There had to be a way. Somewhere in this city, there had to be an answer. From the back seat, Liam's small voice broke through the whirlwind in her mind. "Mama, sing." Amanda glanced in the rearview mirror, meeting his tired but hopeful gaze. Despite everything, she smiled. "Of course, sweetie. What song do you want?" "Twinkle Star," he replied, his face lighting up. And so, as they weaved through the bustling city, Amanda's voice filled the van, singing softly to her son. The song was about stars, but to her, Liam was her entire universe. And no matter what it took, she would move heaven and earth to keep him shining. The van rolled to a stop along a moderately busy shopping street. It was Monday afternoon, quieter than the weekend rush, but Amanda didn't have the luxury of waiting for a crowd. She parked in her usual spot, took a deep breath, and braced herself for another performance, another fight for Liam's future. "Okay, baby," she said, turning to Liam in the back seat. "Mommy's going to sing for a while. You can nap or look at your book, okay?" Liam, already reaching for his tattered picture book, nodded sleepily, letting out a small yawn. Amanda leaned over, pressing a kiss to his forehead before stepping out of the van. She walked to the back, pulling open the doors to reveal her modest setup, just a worn microphone, a small battery-powered speaker held together by tape and prayers, and a single cardboard sign that read, "Help my son." Usually, she had more signs, ones that told Liam's story in detail. But those had been lost or damaged over time. It didn't matter, though. Tonight, she would sing. Tonight, she would fight. And tonight, without her knowing, Snoop Dogg was about to hear her song. The remnants of a summer rainstorm had ruined Amanda's old cardboard signs just days ago, and she hadn't yet found the time to make new ones. But signs were not, she was here. She had to be. The concrete beneath her feet still radiated warmth from the afternoon sun as she moved with practiced ease, setting up her makeshift stage on the sidewalk. A small patch of pavement. A microphone worn from years of use. A battered battery-powered speaker, patched together with tape and hope. She cast a quick glance toward the van parked just a few steps away. Through the window, she could see Liam's tiny frame, his eyelids drooping as he settled into his nap. A bittersweet ache swelled in her chest. He looked so peaceful, so fragile. He was the reason she stood here day after day, the reason she kept singing even when her voice felt too raw to go on. As Amanda sat up, her mind wandered. The months of singing on this very street. The kind strangers who had stopped to listen, the indifferent ones who walked past without a second glance. The cruel ones who sneered or whispered under their breath. The slow trickle of donations, never enough, never even close. But standing still, waiting for a miracle, wasn't an option. This was all she could do. She took a deep breath, pushing away the doubts clawing at the edges of her mind. Then, she began to sing. Her voice drifted across the busy street, weaving through the hum of passing cars and conversations. The first song was one she had sung countless times before, a familiar ballad that had a way of drawing people in. Pedestrians slowed, some stopping to listen, their faces a mix of curiosity and quiet sympathy. A few dropped coins and bills into the collection box at her feet. Others barely spared a glance as they hurried past. Amanda's voice never faltered. She had long since learned to sing through disappointment. Every dollar, every cent, brought them a tiny step closer to the treatment Liam needed. But she also knew the truth. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. The weight of that reality pressed heavier on her chest with each verse. When she finished the set, Amanda allowed herself a brief moment to breathe. She glanced at the collection box, maybe $40 so far. It was something. Not much, but something. Turning toward the van, she saw Liam stirring from his nap. He blinked up at her through the window, his small hands rubbing sleep from his eyes. She walked over and opened the door. "Hey, sweetie," she murmured, brushing a gentle hand over his head. "Are you hungry?" Liam nodded, reaching for her. Lifting him into her arms, Amanda grabbed his lunchbox from the front seat. A plain sandwich, just bread and a thin spread of peanut butter. She swallowed hard. "I'm sorry it's not much," she whispered, more to herself than to him. "Mommy promises to get you something better later, okay?" But Liam didn't care. He took a happy bite, swinging his legs as if this was the best meal in the world. Amanda watched him eat, guilt settling in her stomach like a stone. She counted the money while he chewed. $43 for an hour's work. Not bad for a street performance. Not nearly enough to save her son's life. Liam finished his sandwich and looked up at her, stretching out his arms. "Mama, up." Amanda smiled, unable to resist. "Of course, sweetheart." She lifted him up, cradling him close as she walked back to her spot on the sidewalk. With Liam still in her arms, she knew exactly what song to sing next. Taking a deep breath, she let the first notes of Clouds by Zach Sobich fill the air. Her voice carried every ounce of love and fear and hope and desperation that had lived inside her for months. "And we'll go up, 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 but I'll fly a little higher." The melody stretched across the street, drifting into open shop doors, reaching the ears of passers-by who slowed their steps, their faces shifting as they listened. Even cars in the street seemed to move slower. Some drivers rolled down their windows, catching the haunting lyrics in the warm summer air. Halfway through the song, a sleek pink Cadillac pulled onto the street. Amanda barely noticed at first. She was too lost in the music and the weight of Liam's small body pressed against her and the quiet heartbreak of singing words that felt too close to home. The Cadillac slowed. Then, instead of passing by, it pulled over and stopped just behind her van. Still, Amanda kept singing. The small crowd that had gathered grew thicker. More people stepped forward, adding bills to the collection box. A murmur passed through the audience, curious glances toward the luxury car parked just feet away. But Amanda wasn't paying attention to the car. Not yet. She was focused on Liam, on the music, on the promise she had made to herself and to him. What she didn't know was that inside that pink Cadillac, Snoop Dogg was watching. And he wasn't the type to ignore a voice like hers. The driver's door of the pink Cadillac swung open, and a man stepped out. Dressed in a crisp blue shirt and blazer, his presence alone commanded attention. Even before Amanda fully registered who he was, a ripple of recognition shot through the small crowd. Then, as he removed his sunglasses, revealing eyes glistening with unshed tears, it hit her. Snoop Dogg. Standing just a few feet away. Amanda froze, Liam still nestled in her arms. The surreal moment stretched between them as Snoop took a step closer. "That was beautiful," he said, his voice low, filled with something deeper than admiration. "That song, it means a lot to me. Reminds me of a close friend I lost to cancer." Amanda could only nod, too stunned to form words. Snoop's gaze shifted to Liam, taking in the boy's frail frame, the bald head that marked him as a child in the fight of his life. The understanding in his eyes was instant. "Your son?" he asked gently. Amanda swallowed hard and found her voice. "Yes, this is Liam." Snoop crouched slightly, meeting Liam's tired but curious eyes. "Hey there, little man," he said, offering a warm smile before straightening and turning back to Amanda. "Mind if we talk for a bit?" Amanda nodded, still processing the sheer impossibility of this moment. "Of course." Snoop patted his pockets, a look of mild frustration crossing his face. "Hold on a sec. I think I left my checkbook in the car." He turned, starting toward the Cadillac. Then, a voice cut through the crowd like a blade. "Hey! You need to stop faking your son's illness for sympathy." Amanda's breath caught. Her entire body tensed as she instinctively clutched Liam closer to her chest, turning toward the sound. A woman was pushing her way through the onlookers, her face twisted in anger and disgust. "Let him grow some hair, and we'll all see he's fine and healthy," she sneered. "Your voice isn't even that good. Just stop blocking the walkway and go home." The words echoed off the surrounding buildings, drawing uneasy glances from the crowd. A few people murmured, shifting uncomfortably. Amanda felt her face burn, not with embarrassment, but with fury. She opened her mouth to respond, to say something, anything, but the words lodged in her throat. Months of enduring cruelty from strangers had numbed her to moments like these. But this was different. Because this time, she wasn't alone. Snoop had stopped in his tracks. Slowly, he turned back, his usually laid-back demeanor gone. His expression hardened, his eyes narrowing as he stepped toward the woman. "Excuse me," he said, his voice smooth but carrying an unmistakable edge. "Do you even know what you're talking about?" The woman hesitated, suddenly realizing exactly who was addressing her. Her bravado wavered, but only for a second. Then, as if flipping a switch, her hostility turned to eagerness. "Oh my God," she gasped. "You're Snoop Dogg. Can I get a picture with you?" Snoop's expression didn't change. He studied her for a long moment before replying, his voice cold. "Your name sounds like a singer's name. If you can sing better than Amanda and apologize for what you just said, then I'll consider taking a picture with you." The woman, Jasmine, as she hurriedly introduced herself, blinked in surprise. I can't sing," she admitted. "But I'm sure I could if you trained me." Snoop shook his head, his disappointment evident. You know, he said, people who are proud and cruel, they ain't my fans. And I don't support judgmental behavior toward people out here just trying to survive. He turned to Amanda. That is your name, right? Amanda nodded, still holding Liam close. Yes. Amanda. Snoop glanced back at Jasmine. I think Amanda's got real talent, and I want to support her. Jasmine's face fell as realization sank in. She had severely misjudged the situation. She opened her mouth, as if to protest, but one look at Snoop's unwavering expression silenced her. Without another word, she turned and slinked away, disappearing into the flow of pedestrians. The tension in the air slowly dissipated. The small crowd that had gathered around them now whispered among themselves, their eyes flickering between Amanda and Snoop. Snoop turned back to Amanda, his expression softer now. I'm sorry about that, he said sincerely. Some people just don't get it. Amanda let out a shaky breath, emotion tightening in her throat. Thank you, she said, her voice thick. You really didn't have to do that. I deal with people like her all the time. Snoop shook his head. No. I did have to do that. Nobody deserves to be treated like that, especially not when they're already fighting so hard. He paused, glancing between Amanda and Liam, then met her gaze again. Listen. I'd really like to hear your story, if you're willing to share it. Amanda hesitated. She had spent so long carrying this burden alone, swallowing the pain, keeping her head down and just pushing forward. But maybe it was time. Maybe someone needed to hear their fight. She tightened her hold on Liam, taking a deep breath to steady herself. This is Liam, she said, her voice barely above a whisper as she gently stroked her son's head. He's 3 years old, and he has stage 4 neuroblastoma. Her voice cracked. Snoop listened, his full attention locked onto her, his face open, compassionate. And for the first time in a long time, Amanda felt like maybe, just maybe, someone truly understood. As Amanda voiced Liam's diagnosis, the weight of their reality hit her all over again. Snoop Dogg's eyes widened, a flicker of pain crossing his face. I'm so sorry, he said softly. That's a tough battle, especially for someone so young. Amanda swallowed hard and nodded. We found out months ago. It started in his adrenal gland and spread to his kidney. Our insurance covers only the basics, but what Liam really needs is surgery and immunotherapy. I've been singing on the streets, hoping to raise enough, and people have been generous, but it's never enough. Snoop listened, his expression dark with concern. And the doctors? What do they say? Amanda's eyes welled with tears. Without full treatment, maybe 6 months. A year at best. But with it, there's hope. She quickly wiped her face, not wanting Liam to see her cry. I can prove it, she added desperately. I have his medical records. Snoop held up a hand. Hey. You don't need to prove anything. I believe you. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out a checkbook. Amanda watched, heart pounding, as he began to write, but then, to her shock, he tore the check in half. I'm sorry, Amanda stammered, thinking she had ruined everything. But Snoop smiled, determination in his eyes. Nah, I'm tearing this up because I want to do more than just write a check. Amanda stared at him, confusion and hope battling in her chest. What do you mean? Snoop's grin widened. I see more than a mother in need, I see talent. Real talent. And I have an idea. Give me a second. Still stunned, Amanda watched as Snoop walked back to his Cadillac, already on a call. Liam stirred in her arms. Mama, why am I always sleepy? I want to play. Amanda kissed his forehead. I don't know, sweetheart, she whispered. But I think things might be about to change. Minutes later, Snoop returned, clapping his hands together. Okay, here's the deal, just keep singing. Can you do that for me? Of course, Amanda nodded, still bewildered. Good, Snoop grinned. I'll be right back. He hopped into his Cadillac and drove off, leaving Amanda standing there, wondering if this was all just a dream. Determined, she placed Liam back in his car seat, took a deep breath, and stepped up to the microphone again. She had just finished her fifth song when the unmistakable rumble of a vehicle approaching made her look up. Snoop was back, but he wasn't alone. Behind his Cadillac was a van, packed with professional sound equipment. As both vehicles parked, Snoop stepped out, a wide grin on his face. Amanda's eyes widened. What is all this? Snoop chuckled. Remember that production store down the street? Well, here they are. We're setting up a real stage for you. Crew members immediately began unloading speakers, microphones, and lighting. If you're cool with it, Snoop continued, I want to live stream your performance. Let people hear your story. Let's get you the support you need. Amanda blinked, tears threatening to spill. I don't know what to say. This is incredible. You don't have to say anything, Snoop said. Just sing. As the crew set up, a crowd gathered, drawn by the spectacle and the celebrity at its center. When everything was ready, Snoop pulled out his phone. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced, his voice carrying over the street noise. This is Amanda. She's got a voice that'll blow you away, but more importantly, she's got a story you need to hear. Amanda stepped up to the microphone, heart pounding. Taking a deep breath, she began. This is for my son, Liam. Her voice soared, amplified properly for the first time. The crowd fell silent, mesmerized. Between songs, she shared her story, Liam's battle, the financial struggle, the daily fight to keep hope alive. People wiped away tears. Some reached for their wallets. Donations poured in, so much that one of Snoop's security guards had to continuously empty the overflowing collection box. The live stream exploded, thousands tuned in, comments flooded the screen, people from all over the world wanting to help. Then, just as Amanda was about to start another song, movement at the edge of the crowd caught her attention. 2 police officers were making their way toward the stage. Snoop stepped forward. Evening, officers, he greeted smoothly. Is there a problem? One of them, a man with salt and pepper hair, sighed. We've received complaints about noise and crowding. We need to clear the area. Snoop nodded. Of course. We didn't mean to cause trouble, just trying to help a mother and her sick child. The officer's gaze softened as he looked at Amanda, then at Liam sleeping in the van. I see. Well, we appreciate what you're doing, but for safety reasons, we still need to wrap it up. Snoop turned to the crowd. All right, folks, we gotta call it a night. But thank you. Please keep supporting Amanda and Liam. As people began to disperse, Amanda stood in the middle of it all, overwhelmed. Snoop approached, smiling warmly. You did amazing. How are you feeling? Amanda shook her head in disbelief. I don't even know. This is unreal. Thank you. Snoop's expression turned serious. Listen, it's late. How about I give you a ride home? We can talk about next steps. Amanda hesitated. I have my van. Then my security can drive it. You and Liam ride with me. I want to show you something. Still dazed, Amanda found herself nodding. As his team transferred Liam's car seat into the Cadillac, she handed over her van keys, watching as Snoop gently secured Liam inside. As they merged into traffic, Snoop handed her his phone. Check it out. Amanda scrolled through the live stream, thousands of comments, donations flooding in, people sharing her story. She could barely process it. I don't know what to say, she whispered. You don't have to, Snoop said. This is just the beginning. As they drove, Snoop opened up about his past, his childhood struggles, the hardships that shaped him. That's why I started my foundation, he explained. To give back. And now, I want to help you. Amanda's eyes welled up. I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to, Snoop said simply. Just let me help Liam get the treatment he needs. By the time they reached her house, Amanda felt like her world had shifted. As she led Snoop inside, she couldn't shake the feeling that life, for the first time in a long time, was about to change for the better. And for the first time in months, she allowed herself to believe in something she had almost lost: hope.